Commodore fans, are you ready? It's time for another episode of the Vandy 24/7 podcast on the 440 Sports Network. Keep it locked right here for the best Vanderbilt coverage. Whether it's Clark Lee on the gridiron, Mark Byington and Shea Ralph on the hardwood, or Tim Corbin on the diamond, the Vandy 24/7 crew has you covered. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Also, like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's free and easy to do. Follow the crew on Twitter, Apple Podcast, and Spotify for podcast episodes. Lastly, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, email Chris Lee at chrislee70@gmail.com. And now, pull up a chair. It's time for another episode of the Vandy 24/7 podcast.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Real Deal podcast here on the Vandy 24/7 Sports Network. I'm your host, Billy Derrick, and we've got a big show for you today. We're going to be joined by women's basketball head coach Shea Ralph, as well as Jada Brown, who has a really cool story. So we're going to get into that. I know it's a busy day for the men's side as they face off with Auburn tonight, 6 o'clock on the SEC network. The Tigers are 8.5-point favorites right now. Keep it locked into Vandy247.com for all kinds of coverage today. Joey's got a story out. We may try to do something live before the game, but we'll definitely have game coverage tonight. So, again, big one tonight at Memorial Gym. If you don't have tickets, if you're not planning on going, I would find a way to get down there because it's going to be an amazing atmosphere. It's going to be a big-time SEC matchup with Vanderbilt and number 1 Auburn. So we've got that tonight. But today on the Real Deal podcast, we're talking women's basketball. This is your home for Commodore stories, brought to you by Anchor Impact, Vanderbilt's official collective, and Vandy 24/7, of course, your home of the Commodores. Every Tuesday, we bring you closer to Vanderbilt's athletes, coaches, leaders, and programs, giving you behind-the-scenes access and connectivity to the black and gold. Subscribe to the Real Deal podcast wherever you listen to your favorite shows. That's right under all of our podcasts, the Vandy 24/7 podcast feed. So go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, subscribe, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll get notified every time we go live. So if you're out and about and you see that notification that we're live, go ahead and hop in. So looking forward to keeping this rolling. Today, though, we sit down with Shea Ralph, the head coach of Vanderbilt women's basketball, a position she's held since 2020, a former standout player at Connecticut. She was part of UConn's early dominance. She earned All-American honors and helped lead the team in national championships. Her coaching career has been equally impressive. At Vandy, she's known for her emphasis on building a strong, competitive team while fostering a positive and inclusive culture. Her leadership, combined with her deep understanding of the game, has already started to help shape the future of Commodore women's basketball. A little fun fact here, Coach Ralph's body of work as a player and coach is associated with 7 national titles across NCAA women's basketball. So not a lot Shea Ralph hasn't done in the basketball world. And without further ado, please welcome Vanderbilt women's basketball coach, Shea Ralph. Coach, I want to start here. Talk to me about just your excitement about with the momentum of your program right now. Entered SEC play at 13-1. You've knocked out in-state rival Tennessee at home. Michaela Blakes goes for 33 or 53 rather, not 33, 53 against Florida. She's had 30 before, but 53 against Florida. Camille Pierre is averaging 21 and 10 per game. And just this week, as we record, Blakes has been named AP Player of the Week. How does that success and the notoriety, I know you don't like to harp on it, but how does that fuel you as a head coach, especially in the middle of SEC play?
I think there's never a bad time to have the players on our team getting the awards that they're getting, right? So as the trajectory of our program continues to rise, and those are the things that should be happening. So I think it's twofold. One is that it brings more attention and eyes to our program, which is a great thing, which is what we want and part of the vision that we have here. And the second is that the young players that are watching, the fans that are watching, the recruits that are watching, the players that are currently on the team, the staff, the support staff that's currently helping the team go in the right direction this is all fueling belief for them, right? They're all part of this. They are all now totally invested in the belief in the journey, knowing that we're going in the right direction. So all of these things were part of the plan. And, what's cool about it, you never really know exactly how it's going to play out, right? You just want to take steps forward every year. So, Camille was a step forward when we got her here, and she started to do some of the things that she did last year. Having Ayanna Moore develop was a step forward. Bringing Michaela in as, a 5-star recruit was a big step forward. I don't think any of us, had any idea of how successful they would be this early on and what that would do for our program. And that has made all the difference. So we don't win the games that we're winning. We don't have the attention nationally that we're having. And I don't think we have the ultimate success this year that we're having without players on our team that are doing the things that Michaela and Camille are doing, that Ayanna Moore has done for us, and hopefully so on and so forth.
This isn't news to you, but obviously the SEC is tough, arguably the most difficult conference in the country, and every team has high expectations. You've seen them whether they're at Memorial or on the road. What are the expectations you have for your program each day?
It's a tricky question. So I try to stay away from talking about like results a lot. We have standards and values that we try to stick to day in and day out in terms of how we want to show up, how we want to play, how competitive we want to be, and really how shared we are in our purpose. So our purpose is to maximize our full potential as a team and to be competitive in the NCAA tournament. We want to win championships. I try really hard not to hang our hat on results because, as you said, it's a super competitive conference. It's a super competitive season for us. So we're going to have some highs and we're going to have some lows. But we need to stay connected to each other, and we need to stay invested in the vision and in the purpose so that, when we have a game like we just had against Ole Miss where I didn't think we played our best, not even close to it, that, the house doesn't burn down, that everything doesn't shatter for us. We just get back to who we are. We watch the film. We talk about the things that, the expectations and standards that we did not meet in that game. And then we fix that and we move on so that we can compete now, in a couple days, and then again in a couple days after that, and then again in a couple days after that, because every single game that we play is the most important game on our schedule. So we try to stay, I try to stay away from, okay, we have this goal and we have to win this game. We talk more about how we can consistently meet our standards and expectations through our purpose and values.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because there's not a ton of time to get too high or get too low after a win or a loss. And with you guys entering the national rankings, the conversation, after a lot of these games has shifted to you guys. How do you balance the media, the hype, the excitement, while also staying focused on the schedule and getting ready to face, tough competition night in, night out?
No, we don't shy away from talking about it. I think it's important to acknowledge that we are going in the right direction, and it's also validating, right? Okay, we're ranked and we're winning some games and we're doing really well in our conference, and we're having the season that we expected to have. But, for me, it's easy because I'm not connected to my phone. I'm not, I don't look at social media. I don't read all the things and I don't message people. I don't do that. But our kids live in a different world, right? So it's almost negligent to not address it and to think that they're not going to see some things good and not so good written about our program and about them. So we try to talk about eliminating distraction, quieting the noise, focusing on keeping the main thing, and relying on all the people that are inside our program that are here every day, that know what the truth is, that know what the purpose is, that know what the work is. And then, we put our head down and we do our job. And we show up and we work. So I try to keep it simple for them in terms of, hey, this is all great stuff. This is what happens when you play on a great team. But that doesn't change anything about what we do day to day. And it doesn't change anything about how our season's going to go if we don't continue to work.
Coach, your staff is so talented, and obviously you have a huge part in obviously coaching your players, but helping coach your staff and making sure that your staff helps you as the head coach, as a leader. How do you help coach them, and how big of a role in the culture of your team does your staff play?
I think the single probably the single most important thing that I did right out of the gate when I got hired here was hire an awesome staff. And when I was looking at becoming a head coach, multiple people that I trust and believe in that were in those positions, that whose opinions I value, told me, you have got to get this right. This is the thing that we didn't get right. This is where we tripped up. They talked about hiring a great staff, and they talked about working for great leadership, both in your athletic department and in your university. So that was easily, that right away, working for great leadership crossed off lots of people. And now Vanderbilt, we have that in spades. Candice, Storey Lee, and Chancellor Dearmeyer, we have great leadership in spades. It was a no-brainer there. And thankfully, they were supportive and gave me the leeway, the rope, and the resources to hire my staff because I needed a great one, and they knew it. And it has single-handedly made all the difference for me as a first-time head coach, but also for our players and our program. And the thing that I think I do for them in terms of coaching them is not micromanaging. I'm not a micromanager leader. I give them freedom to coach. I hired them to be coaches, to recruit, to do their jobs with our players. And I don't hover over them to do that. I trust them to do it. And then I constantly check in with them about how I can support them through that. That's become my role now as a head coach with my staff. And they've crushed it. So I've been very lucky in that way. And I'm super grateful for them, for all of them, because they've made a huge difference in the reason why our program is doing so well now.
Well, another reason is the NIL resources. As you know, NIL has become a part of the fabric of college athletics. That's what we talk a ton about here on this podcast. How has NIL changed the recruiting space for your program, and how important is it to you as a head coach now, when maybe 3-4 years ago you weren't even thinking about it?
Yeah, listen, the reality is, and I'll be honest, I'll be as transparent and honest as I can be so that people understand. When I took the job here, NIL was not even part of the discussion. It wasn't even part of the discussion. It wasn't, people weren't really talking about what that looked like in terms of changing the landscape. We knew there were a couple lawsuits on the table, but what's really going to happen, right? That was kind of the attitude towards it. And then a year and a half, 2 years later, I'm in the middle of our season last year dealing with other programs trying to steal my players. And we weren't taking part in NIL last year. And it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just, okay, we didn't know how quickly this was coming and how quickly it was going to impact our program. And the first conversation I had with Candice about it, we put together a plan, and she supported that, and we took off, which was what allowed me to retain most of my roster and recruit. What people need to understand, I think, fans and supporters, is that this is here to stay. This is the reality of college athletics. And in theory, it's not a bad thing. I think when the House settlement happens and there are some guardrails to protect, programs and universities and coaches and players, so that there are some not rules, but maybe standards where things are happening in a more up and up fashion, that will be helpful. But as it stands right now, in order for us to be competitive on the basketball court, we have got to have NIL. That's just the reality of the game that we're in now, the age of college athletics that we're in now. And what I think you're seeing with our program and with all of Vanderbilt athletics is that investment is paying off. That investment is paying off. We are doing some awesome things on this campus with great people, with incredible leaders, both on the court and in the classroom. My team had a 3-4 in the fall. So this is all encompassing in terms of the development of our student athletes and the resources that are coming to them. They are being held accountable, but they're also learning and growing under awesome people because we're able to do this for them.
All right, last thing from me, Coach. You got some big SEC home games coming up with the conference tournament and March Madness right around the corner. But your last answer there leads me to this. What are the ways, even mid-season, right? I know you're focused on the team, but what are the ways your donors, fans, and community members can engage with your program in this final push toward the postseason, and then even in the offseason after the season?
there isn't a way that we wouldn't welcome engagement. I mean, we always love for people to come to games, but I'm a pretty like hands-on kind of coach. We invite people to our practices. There's all kinds of fun things that we can do in terms of interacting with our players and our staff. I'm pretty much an open book, and I have an open door policy for the most part with the things that we do, because I know how important it is to humanize our team and our program. And I think it would benefit both the donors, the fans and the supporters, and our players to understand like the impact that not only they have on our players, but our players have on them. That's the beauty of sport. In reality, we have the capability of impacting people's lives positively, whether it's with stories that we tell or entertainment that we provide. And how many people get to do that in their lifetimes? So we live in our own little bubble, and I think sometimes that can be lonely for our players. They can feel isolated, like they're in a fishbowl. But the more that we interact with our fans and our supporters and our donors, and the more they interact with us, the more support we have. Regardless of what that looks like materialistically, the more support we have, the better our student athletes are going to do. And that's the reality. And I'm all for it. So email us, come to a practice, come to a game. So any kind of support that you can provide, and vice versa. If there's a way that we can meet more people out in the community, I'm open to that too.
That's Vanderbilt women's basketball coach Shea Ralph. Coach, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. Really looking forward to continuing to stay in touch and get to have more conversations. But good luck down the stretch of the season, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anchor down, everyone. Thank you.
That is Vanderbilt women's basketball head coach Shea Ralph. Great conversation there, detailing really a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that goes on, whether it's NIL or dealing with players and dealing with players in this era of the NIL and transfer portal. They've got a big home game this week, Thursday night, 8:00 at Memorial against Mississippi State. Right now, 8th in the Southeastern Conference. So Vanderbilt trying to keep climbing up there. Right now, I think I saw they're a 6th seed in the bracketology. So really looking forward to seeing what this women's basketball team can do. Before we wrap it up, though, we do have one more guest, and her name is Jada Brown, a junior guard from Bentonville, Arkansas. She has taken social media by storm this season. She's got over 100,000 followers. She's been creating content about the team and her day-to-day interactions as a student athlete that have gone viral. She's accumulated over 4 million likes, and her engagement is getting national media attention. She's built a business and grown the digital footprint of Vanderbilt women's basketball effortlessly. Without further ado, we welcome Jada Brown. Jada, I want to start here. Tell the viewers, the listeners, why you chose Vanderbilt. But I think that everybody's always interested in those types of stories for Vanderbilt student athletes. Why did you choose Vanderbilt for your college education and to where you wanted to play basketball, and what do you love most about the Vanderbilt way?
Yeah, I had an interesting recruiting process, but I knew that as soon as Vandy offered me, that's where I wanted to go. So there wasn't a lot of debate or deliberation going on once they offered me. And the reason why I knew I wanted to come here was because I knew Coach Ralph knew how to win, and she developed players. And that's what I wanted to be able to do, was to be a part of a great team, but also grow on the court and off the court. And I knew that she would be able to help me get there. And I would say my favorite thing about Vanderbilt is my teammates. Those are my sisters. We do everything together. So I'd say that's my favorite part.
Since arriving to Vanderbilt women's basketball, you've seen quite a change in the facilities, right? With the new facility, the Huber Center. Talk to us about what excites you most about the dedication, not only from your coaching staff, you mentioned your teammates and the work you guys are putting in, but also just the administration, the university from the top down, and of course the donors and the fans that help you guys grow the game.
Yeah, we love the Huber Center. We're super grateful to have it. They started working on it during my freshman year, so I've kind of gotten to see from the beginning stages all the way through the end, and it now being done, it's super cool, really nice. But I would just say that it's pretty symbolic of how administration and the coaching staff, how much they really want to invest in us and how passionate they are about, giving us everything that we need to be successful.
All right, let's get into you. For anybody that doesn't know, you've taken social media by storm this season. You've got over 100,000 followers. You've created content about the team and your day-to-day interactions as a student athlete that has gone viral. How much of this has surprised you, and what kind of inspired you to start all of this?
I'll answer your second question first. So I started it because I went to the Black Student Athlete Summit this past summer in LA, and I sat in a breakout room, and the session was mainly about being able to monetize and just show your experience on social media. Given the unique platform that we have as student athletes, like people really care to hear our stories because, they see us on the court, the field, in the pool, whatever it is that you do, but they don't really know what goes into it. And people like seeing that kind of stuff. And so I was like, well, let me just try it out. So I kind of got into it slowly over the summer. And it grew, and I started having a lot of fun with it. My teammates are really supportive and they love hopping in my videos. So, yeah.
So what was the investment like? Because that's a big step to get everything you need to make it, look good and look appealing. What was that like? And now it's obviously paid off, but what was kind of the beginning stages like of you getting started with it?
Yeah, well, I film everything on my phone, and I already had that. So
okay.
Really, I just
so there it is.
Yeah, I just needed a tripod. I don't use that all the time, but it helps out. I would say the biggest investment was just time and being able to get over like the embarrassment aspect of it. Like just get over that hump, like having the camera and talking to the camera. But now my teammates know like that's just kind of what she does. So when I start talking to my phone, they know what I'm doing. I'm not scared to do it anymore.
How do you think this? Obviously, it's helping you a lot, right? I mean, this could help set you up down the road, but it's shining a spotlight on you and your teammates. How do you think it's helped the team grow in their digital footprint? Obviously, you guys have had big wins on the floor, but just off the floor, giving fans an opportunity to see the inside of the program.
I think it's been really cool. Just like you just said, people have been able to see what we're like as people because they can see us as players. But once they get to know your character and kind of what you are into, what your interests are, your personalities, all the humor that goes on behind the scenes that people don't get to see, I think they really like that. And then also getting to meet us in person. We love meeting people that watch my videos, and same with them. They like to meet us. So,
yeah, and that's been a huge part. You mentioned the monetization part of this. How can donors and fans engage with you on social media? We got to get the tags out there, the account, and maybe get up to two. What are you at? 100,000. We got to get up to 200,000 here eventually.
That would be great. My TikTok handle is @BrownJada with 2 A's at the end, and then my Instagram is _Jada Brown.
Awesome. Well, as you think about your future, how has basketball, teamwork, being around your teammates and culture inspired you to succeed? When you graduate from Vanderbilt, you mentioned the video aspect of your life, but also, how has Vanderbilt and being a part of a team like this sort of helped set you up down the road?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that they've been trying to teach us, and one of the biggest takeaways that I've had since being here, is there's a lot of aspects to a team, but all aspects of the team are vital, whatever it may be. And it might not be something that you want to be doing, but whatever you do, you need to bring value. And so this has kind of been something that I've enjoyed stepping into, a role that I've enjoyed stepping into, is bringing value in this way. And just being an outreach to social media, getting people excited about the program. So, yeah.
I'm sure it hasn't hurt that Michaela Blakes is on the roster. Have you been able to shine a spotlight on her? I mean, she's got enough already, whether it's ESPN and everybody nationally. But and I'm not sure if you did any content around the Florida game, the 53 points. But I'm sure having her on the team doesn't hurt.
Yeah, she's really cool. I like having her in my videos. Whenever I go live on TikTok, everyone always asks, "Where's Michaela? Didn't she score 50 points?" I'm like, "Yep, she did."
Pretty cool stuff. But Jada, real quick here before I let you go, you guys are in the top 25, right? You've been able to shine a spotlight on it with your journey on social media. What's the outlook here? You got a tough couple of games here coming up, but what are the expectations here down the stretch as you guys get ready for the SEC tournament, but also March Madness?
I think our main focus is just leaving it all out on the floor. Not, letting teams out effort us is a big thing right now. So we just want to provide the best experience for us moving forward and for also our fans. So I think that includes just giving it all we have.
That's Jada Brown from Vanderbilt women's basketball. Jada, I really appreciate you taking the time. Good luck down the stretch of this season, and maybe we'll start some collaborations on social media. We'll see.
I love that. That would be great.
All right, thanks, Jada. That's Jada Brown, Vanderbilt junior guard. Great conversation there. As she's done a really, really good job kind of weaving in her social media skills with this women's basketball program. And we're glad to have her on the show, as well as Shea Ralph. Big thanks to all you guys for watching and listening to this week's episode. That'll conclude episode 2 of the Real Deal podcast, brought to you by Anchor Impact and everyone here at Vandy 24/7. Tune in next week when we have another great couple of guests, and we will keep you posted on next week's guests on the board and on Twitter as well. But don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. That's the Real Deal podcast, but it's also under the Vandy 24/7 podcast feed. Follow Anchor Impact on social media. That's at Anchor Impact, and then 24/7 at Vandy_247. Until then, anchor down, and thanks for listening to another episode of the Real Deal podcast.